Go.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of On the Hunt with Alpine Optics. I'm your host, Rick White, and I hope everybody's doing good this evening. My guest tonight is from Missouri, but he's in Ohio right now, Mr. Jordan Dean. And you know what? We've got another great weekly special at the end of the show, so make sure you watch the whole show. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Stay put. And welcome back, everybody, once again on the Hunt with Alpine Optics. And I hope everybody's doing good this evening. I am actually sitting in my house here in Iowa. I've been to Kentucky deer hunting, and I just got back from Georgia here about a week ago. And I'm looking outside right now, and our weather is really starting to change here. Deer are scraping, bucks are scraping everywhere, and they're starting to pick up their movement quite a bit. So I cannot wait to get out in a deer stand, which I will start this coming weekend. But talking about deer hunting, let's go to our fellow pro staff member, Jordan Dean, all the way over in Ohio. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Rick?
Good. What are you doing in Ohio?
Well, the railroad sent me here for a few months, and I'm ready to get back home, believe it or not.
Tell the folks a little bit about what you do for the railroad.
Well, I'm a conductor, which means I'm in charge of the train, all the freight, the paperwork. It's my duty to make sure the train gets there safely and all the cars get there wherever they're supposed to be at.
Does that mean, are you one of those guys that runs out and puts like pennies underneath the train tracks and or under the tires or tires, the wheels of a train? I remember when we were kids, we used to do that. And we probably shouldn't do that. I don't think we're supposed to do that, but we used to do that when we were little. But so you're out there working. You're out there for how much longer before you head home?
I go home November the 9th is when I get to leave.
Okay. Well, I know you were just back home a week ago, and I know that Lance and Ryan from the office came up and hunted with you. Let's tell the folks a little bit about how the hunt went. And that's a tough time of the year to hunt.
Yeah, so the moon was really bright the first few days it was here. The wind was definitely a factor, and it just was about a week too early. I think they got here right in that last of that October lull, and just things didn't happen. But we did get a lot of stuff done. We had a great time, and they can't wait to get back.
I have lots of people that ask me, most people don't get to do what I've done over the years. And that's, basically hunt, for a living and that kind of thing. But so I get to hunt a lot, but the average guy takes a week off and heads out to the bow woods, and depending on what state you're hunting in, that can vary a little bit. But people always ask me if I was going to take a week off, what's the best week to take off? I have an opinion on that, but what's your opinion?
I would say the week after Halloween, that first 10 days of November, I think that is the best time to be in the woods. That's when everything is kicking off. And there's no better time, I don't think, than that week after Halloween.
I've seen a lot of big deer already being shot right now. I would say anytime starting right now up until Thanksgiving is an excellent time to hunt. If I was going to take a week off, and maybe you look at the moon phase, maybe you look at if you can look at the weather and be a little bit flexible on your vacation. But I personally like the first week of November. That's what I like. I have consistently shot more deer on November 5th and 6th over the years. Now, having said that, I've shot a lot of deer the week before Thanksgiving. I've shot some the end of October and so on, but I have shot more deer on the 5th and 6th. Those have been my days. Do you have a day or two that have been maybe more successful for you? Or
I shot two of my biggest bow bucks actually October 22nd.
There you
So
go.
I just got lucky on those 2 days. But as far as deer activity and the number of deer you see, like you're right, anywhere between the 5th to the 9th, it seems like there's always a cold snap those few days. And that's just when the deer just get fired up.
They do. And, and I'm speaking purely from two states, Jordan hunting in Missouri and me being in Iowa. We are not allowed to bait. So states that allow baiting, you can possibly have success earlier in the season and good success, or maybe even late in the season with good success. But I'm just talking about just the natural flow of deer movement, at least in these states without baiting. So, we wanted to talk about a few things. Let's talk about what I feel is very important. Not number one thing, safety. We always talk about safety, and we can get into some of that, but this kind of ties with what I want to talk about. But that's getting kids involved in hunting, getting them involved in the outdoors, whether it's hunting, fishing, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. It's important that we expose these kids to the outdoors. But I know your Missouri youth season, I believe, starts this weekend. Is that right?
Yeah, it starts Saturday and goes Saturday and Sunday. And then there's a late portion after firearms towards the end of November.
And I'll bet it's just killing you because you always take your son. You have two sons, and you always get them out. And I know one of them's too old to hunt the youth season now, but you always take them out youth season. You've always done that. And this year you're not able to because obviously you're in Ohio. So how's that going to work out for him?
Well, luckily my boys are, 14 and 16. My oldest boy, like you said, he cannot hunt. But Carter, I think he's going to stay at my grandpa's. He's just going to wake himself up and just go out by himself. I don't think my grandpa's too keen on getting up early anymore. So he's just going to go out. And then if he is successful, there's my grandparents or his stepdad that'll come give him a helping hand.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough not being there. This is the first year I've got to miss it.
So, let's talk a little bit. I see some folks are getting on, and we'll acknowledge them here in a little bit. But, I always, in my seminars, I always did a section on getting kids involved in the outdoors and hunting. And some of the important things, and I want you to touch a little bit on this, but, getting kids out and showing them a great experience, giving them a great experience, not boring them, because kids don't have the attention span that we do. And so I always like, first of all, hunting out of a blind with the kid because they can get up and move and stretch around. And, because most kids don't have a lot of patience. In fact, a lot of adults don't have a lot of patience either, but I let them take the little handheld games or nowadays, I guess it's their phone, but let them preoccupy themselves because, if they do get bored, most of the time, if you ask them, the next time you ask them to go hunt, and they might say no. But one of the big things that I've always noticed is, kids grow out of their clothing so fast. And so most adults, parents, they don't go out and spend a lot of money on kids' clothing. But you got to remember, I'm sure you adults that hunt have the best clothing that you can afford to buy. Well, you really ought to think about that as you buy your kids' clothing too, because they don't like to be wet. They don't like to be cold. They don't like to be hot, all those things. So, make sure you look at all the little things. I mean, what can you add to that, Jordan?
Well, you're exactly right. I told myself, if this stuff keeps me warm, then they're going to keep my boys warm. Like they got the exact same waders, lacrosse waders that I use, the lacrosse boots, the socks. I mean, luckily my kids have about the same size foot as me, even though they're a lot younger, that we can, we pretty much get the same thing. That way, first of all, they don't take my stuff. And second of all, I know it'll keep me warm. And so I know they'll keep them warm too. So because that'll ruin the hunt quicker than anything, them getting cold or wet. So if it's good for me, it's good for them too, is what I look at it.
Right. I know when I started getting kids out when they were like, even my son, when he was young, turkey hunting, for instance, the one thing I didn't do is go out and let him shoot a whole bunch of 3-inch shells at targets and wear his arm out, or perhaps scare him from shooting, that type of shell. So I let him shoot that low brass shell and then just loaded it with a turkey load and didn't even tell him. And I don't even think he knew, but some of those things are, things to think about. But I like hunting in blinds with kids. Do you do the same, or do you get in a stand, or?
Yeah, when my kids were little, we hunted out the blinds. But now that they're older, we both sit in a tree stand together. If we don't sit in a double stand, then I'll hang on stand above my ladder, so I can at least be up there with them. Because that is time you can't get back with them. Even though you can't hunt, it's still fun watching them. And even though they're big enough to do everything by themselves, I still want to be there with them. So,
Right. And I mentioned earlier a little bit about, safety. Um, Safety is the most important thing at all times. And I see a lot of adults out there that maybe aren't the safest hunters in the world. But you have to teach these kids safety from day one, and you really need to push it into their heads that, because my dad stressed safety with me so much when I was young that I am instinctively, if I'm pheasant hunting, for instance, and my gun's off to the left and someone comes around, I don't even realize it, but my gun moved to the right. And it's a natural instinct that it just takes over. I don't even think about having to do that, but it's important. And when I talk about safety in the deer woods, and you talked about getting up in tree stands, I still talk to some people that don't wear a safety restraint. And I don't understand it, to be honest with you. I wear a hunter safety system. It's the one I like. And I won't go to the tree without one. Now, I also use Lifelines. Now, they came out several years ago. I didn't always use them, but they're in every one of my trees now. And what a lifeline is, it's attached to your tree and it goes along your ladder or your steps or whatever you're using to climb up into your tree. But it has a carabiner clip with a slide on it, and you hook into it. And as you climb, you just slide up the rope with it. So if you fall off climbing up or getting into your stand, you're hooked up. You can't fall to the ground. Now, I know, Jordan, when you came and filmed me a few years ago, you used my Lifelines. Did you like them?
Huh. Absolutely. I love them. You know me and heights, so I was glad you had those. Talking about that, I actually had a buddy fell 30 feet this year. He was in the process of undoing his safety clip to clip onto his other one, and his strap broke, and he fell 30 feet and had to be lifeline. Luckily, he's going to be a full recovery and just broke his legs in a few places and a punctured lung, but it could have been a lot worse.
I had a friend of mine, his name was Rob, and lives in Kentucky. And about 4 years ago, exact same thing. He was climbing up, and he was just stepped onto the platform of his stand. He wasn't using a lifeline, climbed up and got into the stand and was just getting ready to hook up. And his platform, the two cables holding the platform up, snapped, and he fell, and he broke his collarbone, his hip, his legs, and punctured a lung. And he was in bad shape for about a year. And he's better now, but there's no need for that kind of stuff to happen with an inexpensive lifeline. And if you're not sure what they are, just go to Hunter Safety Systems website and check it out. Lifeline. Put them in every one of your trees. Now, I wanted to tell a story about you, Jordan, because the first time Jordan came and filmed me, it would be an understatement for you to say you don't like heights because you climbed up my stand, and my stands they're pretty high, and they're not the easiest stands to get in the world because I usually put my stands above my ladder. So you don't step off from the ladder into my stand. You actually step on the top of the ladder and step up into my stand. And you were bear hugging that tree for your life. And you climbed up on my stand on your knees, and you're holding the tree, and you're on the platform on your knees, and you're just shaking. So, but I know once we started using the lifelines and you clipped on those, I saw a complete different. You weren't near as agile, and you weren't. Your fear went away, I think. So enough said about the lifelines. But just listen, if you're not going to wear a safety system, restraint, or use a lifeline for yourself, you use them for your loved ones, because there's a lot of people out there that want to see you here for a long time. So what other safety things could you maybe talk about?
I always tell my kids, take the bolt out and make sure for some reason in the gun cabinet or even in the truck ride, nothing got lodged in the barrel. I said, before you stick that, put a shell in your gun, take your bolt out and make sure that barrel's free of any obstruction that could have possibly been. So that's one thing that they still do. We don't even when we put the guns back in the safe, we always take the bolts out. And that's kind of bit us because we've actually forgot a bolt one day. So we've always make sure that their barrel is completely clear before we go out. And that's just something that
and use pull-up ropes. There's no reason to try to carry your firearm or your bow up the tree when you're climbing. Use a pull-up rope. Always have a phone with you. I think it's important to carry a knife with you. These are just some of the things I take with me. Maybe a first aid kit's not a bad idea, especially if you're out west hunting and you can't get to help. But, a phone is important. But let people know when you go out where you're going, where you're going to be hunting, in case you don't come home at the right time and people have to go look for you. They know where to go and look because it could be a time sensitive issue. But okay, so your sons have had pretty good deer hunts over the years. I think they've been pretty successful, and I know we've had some luck together. Where's your son going to be hunting this weekend? Is he going to be hunting over a food plot? Is he going to be hunting on an oak ridge, or what's he going to be doing?
I think he's going to be in the timber. That last set where me and you set last year when you was up, I think he's going to hunt those woods. We've had some pretty good deer, on camera there, and he's my youngest boy. He's not the pickiest hunter in the world. He likes going, and the first decent deer that comes in, he wants to shoot it. So there's been several. We've been getting the most pictures over on that farm. So hopefully he gets one of those.
Yeah, and the reason that was a good spot, just to bring the people that are viewing, is it was kind of so two ridges came together in there, I believe, if I remember right, and it kind of was a pinch point, and that's what caused the deer to move up through that area. So hopefully it'll be good. So let me check and see who all is watching here. Phil Smith is on here. Rob, hey Rob, how you doing? Yes, he said he heard Jordan was going to be on. That's the only reason he's on, because of you. So Steve Herndon's on there, of course, and who else we got? I'm just kind of going through here. I need to probably look at all these comments. Jack Code's on there. But that's great. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Jordan, what do you have for upcoming hunts now? I know you're going to be heading back to Missouri at some point, but what do you got going on?
Well, we're going to do the deer season. Hopefully get 4 or 5 days off to, opening week of rifle season is always a good one. And then after rifle season comes duck season, which me and the boys will be out. We have a few reservations this year at some public ground there in Missouri that's really good. So hopefully we have some good luck duck hunting as well.
Well, before we get into the duck hunting, are you doing any guiding down at Wablo Creek this year? Or?
That's turkey season. Turkey season's when I'll go down there. Usually, they have some good deer guides down there that come in that usually help them out pretty good. So I know Jason Jones from California will be there helping, and of course Rob and Steve. They do a great job down there, and they have a lot of hunters this year. They're pretty booked up. They're looking forward to it.
So, I miss. I mean, Wablo Creek, I've hunted down there quite a few times over the years. And I really, not only the camaraderie of good people down there, but I miss the food. And I need to go down there and say hi and just show up about a half hour before dinner. That's what I need to do. And actually, I'd love to get back down there and hunt here again soon. My schedule gets so tough. And I think when talking to Steve, I think they filled up this year. I think they're full. They've got all their hunters. But those of you that are looking for a good hunt in Missouri, check out Wablo Creek Outfitters. I think you'd be happy that you did. But so the upcoming waterfowl season in Missouri, and I'm not sure where else you might be going. But what's the forecast? What's it looking like?
Well, hopefully we get everything gets froze up north. When it stays warm up north in the Dakotas, it doesn't push no ducks down. But as far as what we've been getting here in the last couple of years, these birds have been feeding at night. the duck hunting's been a little slow. For some reason, they started feeding at night and just not coming in. We've been getting some decent hunts, but the last few years have actually been rather slow. The warmer weather up in the Dakota potholes are holding north further. And I know the guys in Arkansas and Louisiana can contest to that. They think the ducks stay in Missouri and Kansas longer than this year. So,
I mean, what can you do? Is there anything you can do to make your hunting any better? I mean, I used to do some waterfowl hunting. It's been a long time ago, and I just don't have time anymore to do it. So, but I know a little bit about it, but not near what you guys what you do. You live for duck hunting. I'm one of those guys that I always kid Jordan and some of the others, and that my favorite recipe is to take a duck and a tennis shoe and throw the duck over my shoulder and cook the shoe. So, but then I'm told that the duck is excellent, but I'm not so sure of that. But you're going to tell me it's great, aren't you?
So somebody tried calling my phone and I missed what y'all was muted there for a while until I could figure out how to unmute it.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
So do you have a favorite recipe, a duck recipe? I mean, you were one of those that told me, duck is great eating and all this. And I just told the story about, my experience with eating duck, but what's your favorite recipe? You got to have
I just breast them out, slice them, and I just fry them. A little Cajun seasoning. I kind of fry them like a round steak, to be honest with you. You can't really go wrong with that way. A little Cajun seasoning, salt and pepper, and just fry them. Mashed potatoes and gravy, and they're just almost like a round steak. Not as good.
What would you say, at least in Missouri, what time of the year do you think is going to be the best duck hunting this year?
Around the 1st of December, usually the first week or two of December, when those cold fronts start really freezing some more stuff up north. Now it can be good early season, when the first ducks get here. Usually our duck season in the northern part of Missouri has 3 zones: north, middle, and southern zone. They all start like a week or 2 weeks apart. So the northern zone, which I hunt most, usually it's froze by the 2nd or 3rd week till the end of the season. If it stays warmer, then we can have some great hunts around Christmas time. But if it's usually the 1st, 2nd week in December is usually the best.
Are people, are you seeing, as you're traveling kind of all over, are shotgun shells hard to come by right now? Are you seeing some of that, or?
Yeah, shotgun shells, especially here in Ohio. I've been picking some up every time I see them. Luckily, I bought some cases from Rogers last year, 2 years ago. I'm still shooting, but shells in general, I probably have 25 boxes of ammo rifle in my truck. Because I've been seeing out here, I've been buying for people back home because they can't find center fire rifles at home. So I have probably at least 25 boxes of shells in my truck right now that I've been buying for people.
I gotcha. All right. Hey, I'm supposed to ask you a question. What can you tell me about the deer you couldn't get?
The deer, that's a lot of deer.
Yeah, well, that came from Paul. Paul sent me a message, said, ask Jordan about the best deer that he couldn't get.
Oh, shoot. Well,
I have no idea what that, I figured you'd probably know what that means.
No, the biggest deer that I've ever known that was in the area was down there at Wablo. They called that deer the cactus buck. And I got to hunt that stand for 2 or 3 days. And of course it ghosted me. So that was probably the biggest deer that I've known that was on the property. So I'd say that would be the best deer that I couldn't get.
All right. Well, let's tell the folks a little bit about a hunt that you and I did. And it's been a few years back. You came to Iowa to film me on an archery hunt. And I had just about 3 or 4 days earlier fell off a ladder. The wind caught some paneling we were holding. I fell 16 feet, landed on my back on the gravel. And I broke a couple of ribs. And fortunately, that's all that happened, because I know some people that haven't been that lucky. And my phone's ringing here, but I was able to I figured I'd wait a couple days, and I was in pain. And I went out just to see if I could draw my bow and shoot it. And I was able to. So I decided I was going to go hunting, and you came out to film me. And the hardest thing, as you remember, is just climbing up and out of my stand. That was the worst part of it. Drawing my bow, because I was using my shoulders and my arm strength, didn't affect the broken ribs, which were in the back side of my rib cage there. But climbing up and down, oh boy, that was bad. But anyways, we had some luck, and you and I had hunted quite a bit over the years together. But that, I believe, was our first successful hunt together that you filmed, and it was a good deer. And I know Paul's got a picture of it. I'm not sure if he's got it on there, but anyway, that hunt, we just, through the eyes of a hunter, just are now putting together our latest DVD. We still are doing DVDs, and we still sell DVDs, and we're putting a video together that's called Just Hunting. It's got 6 deer hunts, 5 turkey hunts, and 4 predator hunts, all on one video. We just wanted a variety of some of the hunts that we've done over the years, and that hunt's on there. Jordan filmed it, and it's a great video. And when it's done here, probably in about a month, we'll have copies. Those of you that are interested, hit me up, and we'll make sure we get a video out to you. But and then, of course, our 4th turkey season, we're working on right now this past spring, and we'll have that ready maybe Christmas time, maybe the 1st of February, somewhere right in there. So, but that was a memorable hunt for you too, I think, as well.
Oh yeah, like I said, it happened pretty quick. I got up there probably about noon, 1 o'clock. I know we had time to meet, eat lunch, and get up there to your farm, and by 4:30 we had a dead deer.
That was the first afternoon. All right. Well, listen, thanks again. Those folks that are out or starting to go out hunting, don't forget safety in the deer woods. Safety, safety, safety. Until next week, I'm Rick White, Jordan Dean. Thanks for coming along. We'll see you next Wednesday, 6 to 6:30. Good night, everybody.